Hello, beautiful shining stars. Goddess Allison here. I am a life improvement coach and an author. And currently in my coaching practice, I help people heal love and money heartache so that they can have true soulmate love, live their dream career, and grow their wealth. So usually I am helping people with their love and money issues, but today I am going to be talking about a health issue, and that is HPV. So, kind of feeling a little bit vulnerable here. Here I am, a coach, and I'm talking about this virus, right? This STD. So, as a holistic practitioner, every once in a while I'll run into something in my life, like having a painful heartbreak, or being broken poor, or heck, having an STD, and I will think, well, I'm a holistic practitioner. What do I know that can make it better, that can heal it, cure it, make it all go away? And I will figure out what that is, and I will want to share it with you, because that's why I became a coach in the first place, because I want to help other people make their lives better. And the best way that I know how to do that is to guide and mentor people through a process that is what worked for me. So that's why I made these videos, because for my own life, I feel that I have cured and healed HPV in a natural way within a few short months. So my little disclaimer, though, is that although I do have over 10 years of experience and education in the holistic field, I do not have a formal license or certification as a medical doctor. I am not even a licensed naturopath or anything like that. So my disclaimer is I don't have a license to give you medical advice. I do totally agree that you should go consult your medical doctor for your health. But I'm just a woman out there in the world that tried something and it worked. So I'm sharing that info with you freely out there on the YouTubes, so that you can heal your body as well, and hopefully save you a lot of time, emotional heartache, and money, because literally I had been dealing with this for the past probably 2.5 years, and I've spent hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars on this virus already. So I want to save that for you, save you that emotional roller coaster and time and money. So I'm going to talk about HPV, get into some of the knowledge and education about the virus, and then I'm going to share my story about what I had to go through with this virus. And these are going to be perhaps lengthy videos, about 20 to 30 minutes long, in 2 parts. And in the first part, I'm going to talk about the background on the virus and my story with it. And then in the second part, I will go through the method that I used to heal and cure it naturally. Which, when you find out what that is, you're probably going to laugh, because it is so simple. Yeah, you're probably going to crack up and be wondering why more people aren't just talking about it like this. So here goes. I'm going to tell you about the virus, and I'm doing this because if you are a woman and you've just been diagnosed with an abnormal pap smear and been told you have HPV, you're probably feverishly searching the internet for information and knowledge about how to get rid of this thing naturally. And if you're a man too, you're probably curious, but it's most likely that you will find this video as a woman searching for info on HPV, human papilloma virus, and how to heal your body of it. So if you're still at that crazy stage where you've just gotten, your abnormal pap smear and been told you have HPV, I think it's important for you to have knowledge and information about the virus, and then I'll go into my story about it so that you can see what a woman, it's very common for women to have to go through these same exact things that I went through. So I'm letting you know the information on the procedures that your doctor may recommend that you do, and the just the whole process, and hopefully save you from a lot of this stuff that I had to experience. And when you discover this virus, you'll probably also discover that it is so common. Many women that you know have probably had this virus at some point in their life and have even had to have procedures done because they had the virus, or were told that they might have cervical cancer or something nasty like that. But we don't want that for you. So here are these beautiful videos for you to watch and to learn from. So just getting into the knowledge and the basics about the human papilloma virus. This is a very common virus. It is a sexually transmitted virus. At least 50 to 80% of people will have this virus sometime in their lifetime, sexually active people. And, well, the doctor that I just saw said 100% of people. So, whatever, right? But it's super common. And when I tell you how it's passed around in the world, you'll be able to see why it's so common and how you may have contracted it. So, it is a skin-to-skin contact virus, meaning that if the skin on your genitals touches the skin on someone else's genitals that is infected with the virus, you can possibly contract this virus. So condoms don't protect you 100%. You can get this virus if you've been safe and responsible your whole life. You can get this virus if you've been in a monogamous relationship free of cheating, your whole life. But it is so common, and it can also be dormant in your body and rear its ugly head, years after you've gotten it, especially particularly at times when your immune system is lower, like, for instance, due to stress or a big life transition, like a move or something, and I think that's why it started to show up for me. But it's very common, and on top of it being very common, men cannot be tested and treated for this virus unless it produces visible symptoms, which usually it doesn't. So men can contract the virus, carry and pass it from woman to woman without knowing it, and even many women who have it don't know that they have it and are spreading it around. So that's why it's so common, and a woman won't know that she has it unless she turns up with an abnormal pap smear and tests positive for HPV. So that's why it's so crazy, and I want to rid the world of it, and that's why I'm making these videos. So you can probably tell that you really can't tell who, where, when you got it from, because it is so tricky. And if there's anything that I've learned through this whole process, it is that it's great to be knowledgeable and educated, but it's not great to be paranoid or emotional. And there's really no way to prevent this virus if you want to be sexually active, which, who doesn't? Sex is great, right? Yeah, I just said that. Sex is great. There's two types of HPV. There is high-risk HPV and there is low-risk HPV. High-risk HPV is the HPV that is responsible for causing cervical cancer in women, and it's the reason that we have pap smears, so that we can catch these things and treat them before it turns into cervical cancer. And it's not 100% that it will turn into cervical cancer. Usually, in most healthy people, your immune system will clear it up on its own. And the low-risk HPV just causes genital warts, which is less concerning than having cancer, but still can be a point of emotional heartache and stigma in someone's life if they, if it's, stereotypically thought of, oh, you have an STD, you must sleep around a lot, right? Well, that's not true. You can be safe and responsible and still contract this virus. And, for my own life, I don't sleep around a lot. I've had I've had less than 10 sexual partners in my life, and I do believe it's very important to be honest and open with your sexual partners about the risks of your body, and be educated and knowledgeable so that you can help other people make informed choices about what they would like to do with their sexuality and their body and for their life. And I've definitely helped educate many people so far, particularly men, on this virus because they had no clue. Like me, before I was told I had it, I didn't really know. I mean, I knew it was an STD, but I didn't really know all the details until I was told I had it and then feverishly searched the internet for it. So unfortunately, that's probably the point that you're, learning this information about it. But, rest assured, rest your mind, be at ease, because there's really no point in figuring out who, when you got it, and trying to do everything that you can possible to prevent it in the future. Just, be conscious and be healthy and follow the advice that I'm going to give you so that you can know what to do if and when it happens, and when it happens again. And that's what I wanted to figure out, because I had it diagnosed for me a few different times in my life, and I was just beside myself, and I just wanted to figure out what to do after a while to know what I should implement when I get it to just make it go away. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So now going into a little bit about my story with this whole virus thing. It's April 2015 now, and I'm 31 years old, although a lot of people don't think I look like I am 31. Some people even think I look like I could be a teenager, but I'm 31 years old, and in the fall of 2012, so a couple years ago, 2.5-ish years ago, in my late 20s, for the first time in my life, I had an abnormal pap smear. And, the nurse calls you up and says, oh, your pap smear is abnormal, and this is the result of HPV, human papilloma virus. We recommend this is the next step for you to take. And then I freaked out and got emotional. I was like, what is this thing? How did I get it? HPV, what's that? STD, oh my gosh, what happened? And I feverishly searched the internet for anything I could get my hands on about this virus. So if you're at that point, it's great to be calm, and I'm glad that you have found these videos, and that I'm glad that you can share them with other women to help them, educate them about HPV if you know someone who's going through this same thing. So I got an abnormal pap smear, and I thought, holy cow, what the heck is that? And so I did a lot of looking up on the internet to educate myself about this virus and about the procedures that my doctor was recommending that I do. So if you have an abnormal pap smear, your doctor will recommend that you get a colposcopy and a biopsy. And what that is the doctor will look at your cervix with a special scope called a colposcope, and then they will take a tissue sample, that's the biopsy, the little tissue sample, that will tell the doctor how far your cells have changed and mutated. And the little tissue sample is about the size of the head of a ballpoint pen. That's what my doctor said, about the size of the ball in a ballpoint pen. So my doctor is recommending that I have a colposcopy and biopsy, and I was just like, what is that? And this was before the days of Obamacare, so I didn't have insurance, and I was paying for these things out of my pocket. And the doctor that I had at the time that did my pap smear didn't test for HPV and at the same time that they did the pap smear, which I know a lot of doctors do, especially if you go see Planned Parenthood, which is where where I've been going recently. Have them test for HPV at the same time, because I didn't do that because the nurse at the time said your cervix looks normal. I don't think we need to do this test. It would be another $100. And I said, okay, well, I trust you to know what you're talking about. If my cervix looks normal, then maybe I don't need this test. But of course, I had an abnormal pap smear anyways, and I wanted to get another test to see if I actually had the virus, because I had read on the internet that you can have an abnormal pap smear without having HPV. So I got yet another pap smear to see that, yes, in fact, I did have HPV. I had the high-risk strain of HPV, and then I have a friend, and he said, well, you might want to get a strain-specific test to see what strain of HPV you have so that you can know if you have a vaccinatable strain or not. And this might be helpful information for your future lovers or partners or whatever. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that's good advice. So I got yet another test, which, I didn't really want to do, but I did. I had about 3-ish pap smears in the span of 2-ish months, and they don't recommend you do that. You don't do that. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. But I got a strain-specific test that told me I had high-risk HPV 18. So I knew I had a vaccinatable strain of HPV and that it was high risk. So all these procedures that my doctor was recommending, that, I just kind of followed through with them, because I thought, even though the whole time I was like, do I need this? Should I get this? Can I heal it naturally? I just went with what my doctor said. So I got the colposcopy and the biopsy, and the results of my biopsy were that I had CIN 1 and 2. So there are different grades of cell changes toward cervical cancer that you can have: CIN 1, CIN 2, CIN 3, and CIN 4. And by the time you have CIN 4, that is considered that you have cervical cancer. And if you have an abnormal pap smear, mine was LSIL. That is a low grade of cell changes on the cervix. There's other conditions of abnormal pap smears. There's HSIL, which is the high grade, and then there are lower grades than LSIL of cell changes. But mine was LSIL, positive for high-risk HPV 18. And I had CIN 1 and 2. And then my doctor calls up and, again, says, this is the result of your test, and we recommend from here on out that you get this LEAP procedure within the next few months, right? And I was like, LEAP, what is that? And so again, I went feverishly searching the internet for what that was exactly. Did I need it? And how much was it going to be? I called the doctor, and they said, well, if we have to put you under, it's going to be, this thousands of dollars more than if you're awake for the procedure. So I was like, okay, I'll be awake for the procedure. What is it? What does it do? What happens? Basically, they take a hot needle and they cut out the abnormal cells out of your cervix. And the reason the doctor wanted to do this is because the abnormal cells were up inside the channel of my cervix. And the reason that this is concerning is because the cells inside the channel of the cervix start to get into the uterus cells, which are highly susceptible to cell changes and cancer. So that's why the doctor said, we recommend this LEAP procedure. And through my my pap smears and my LEAP pap smear, after, I was able to get pictures, before and after pictures of what my cervix looked like, just for my own knowledge, and information, because a lot of women probably never see their own cervix. It's up inside your body. So if you don't know what a cervix looks like, basically it looks like the head of a penis, but it's inside your body. And the abnormal cells were in the channel of my cervix, and so basically what the leap did was it cut out all of those abnormal cells in the hole, and it would be basically like if you made the hole bigger in the head of a penis. And I got a picture just after the surgery, and it's kind of graphic. I don't know if I'm going to post these pictures. They're kind of graphic, and I don't think I want necessarily graphic pictures of the inside of my vagina out there on the internet. I'm already talking about this virus, this STD, right? But they cut out the tissue, and then they send it to a lab, and they say whether or not they've gotten it all. And so I got a picture of the of my cervix right after the procedure, and I was awake the whole time, and I remember it, and I had a friend holding my hand, and so it's really good. I recommend moral support. I really do. It was great. And then the doctor says go back for another pap smear and get it in 6 months, and get a pap smear every 6 months until you have 2 or 3 normal pap smears, and then you're in the clear, right? Great. And I didn't have any complications with the procedure, and I had good healing, and went to the doctor for a checkup for that. And then 6 months later, I got another pap smear in about the spring of 2013, and this time my pap smear was normal. Yay, right? Yeah. I felt great. And I did decide to get the vaccine for HPV, Gardasil. It's there's a lot of controversy surrounding this vaccine, but I decided to do it anyways, because just so that I could, even though I'd had a vaccinatable strain already, I could just protect myself more from the other most common strains, which there are hundreds of strains of this virus, so the vaccine doesn't even protect you from all of the strains. And I got the little pamphlet of the ingredients and what's in there, and aluminum and all kinds of shot into my body. And if you're a holistically minded person, you probably look at that and you're like, oh, what am I doing? But I did it anyways, and I didn't have any complications with that either. It hurt a little more than most vaccines that I've gotten, but that was about it. So over a period of 6 months, again paying out of my pocket, I got the Gardasil vaccine. And then 6 months later, in about the fall of 2013, in the fall of 2013, I went back for my next pap smear, and it was again abnormal, LSIL, and positive for high-risk HPV. And this time I didn't get a strain-specific test. The Planned Parenthood didn't do that, and I didn't think it was necessary by that point. I just thought, why bother? It's not, there's nothing that I can do. And even after my leak procedure, I just went home and cried. I cried a lot, just about the whole thing, about the whole dang situation. I was upset, I was angry, but not at any one person. It was nobody's fault. There was nothing that I could really do. And I had just had a big chunk of tissue cut out of my cervix. So it was pretty emotional. And then to be told that I had it again, yet again. And this time, of course, again, colposcopy and biopsy, paying for it. And the doctor said, well, this time, it was CIN1 this time. And the doctor said, well, we'll do the watch and wait method. And what's that, right? Watch and wait method. That means come back in a year and we'll test you again, right? Well, what do you do for a year with this virus in your body? So I thought, well, and I was living at Dancing Rabbit Eco Village at the time. I was living in the Eco Village surrounded by wonderful eco-conscious, health-conscious, holistically minded people. And one of my friends said, well, maybe you can heal this naturally, and maybe there's something that you can eat, that will help your body. So I thought, okay, and I looked up, a lot of natural ways to heal it, the first time, because I didn't want all those leaps and and things, but I decided to listen to my doctor and do it anyway, which, I don't know, what kind of decision that would have been if I would have known then what I know now, which is what I'm sharing with you. So, at the time, in 2013 to 2014, I did attempt to change my diet. Like I said, I was living at an eco-village. I was eating very healthy as it was. Our communal meals were generally vegan or vegetarian, and I did eat some meat on my own, but rarely, because I am an omnivore. But I was eating fairly healthy at the time, but I thought, well, I'll just eat even more healthy, and I'll start taking some supplements that I had heard that women with cervical dysplasia are put on to, that is recommended for them. That's what it's called, cervical dysplasia, when you have abnormal cells on your cervix. So I just started focusing my diet more on eating a lot of vegetables and taking some supplements and drinking plenty of water, and I took some vitamin A and B and some vitamin D, but you have to really learn a lot about vitamins and supplements if you're going to do that, because you don't want to overdose on the wrong ones. For instance, if you get too much vitamin A over a long period of time, you could have liver problems and all sorts of things. So I had to really educate myself about vitamins and supplements, because I never had really taken them before in my life either, even though I was doing my best to be healthy and eat healthy. And I had heard that green tea helped, so I drank green tea almost every day and just tried to eat even more healthy than I was eating before, when I was eating a healthy diet. And I don't drink and I don't smoke. I am on birth control, which, a lot of holistically minded people say, that might not be so good, and, especially not for cell changes on your cervix that are mutating. But I changed my diet a little, and I hoped that helped it. I also went to an herbalist store when I was visiting my family in Seattle for the holidays, and I got some herbal suppositories that were to help with vaginal health. And the herbalist said don't eat sugar and carbs very much, because that will feed the virus. So I just did my best to be conscientious during that year of the whole watch and wait thing. And then I went back the next year, December of 2014. That was about 4 months ago, and I was told that, yes, you have an abnormal pap smear, LSIL again, and testing positive for high-risk HPV. And I just thought, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? I don't want any more leaps in my whole life ever. I just don't want to deal with this thing anymore. What can I do? And so I remembered what Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. So I figured, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let food be thy medicine, and I am going to change my diet drastically. It's going to be my New Year's resolution to change my diet drastically. And that's what I did. And in part 2 of this video series, I'm going to tell you what that diet change was, and so you can implement it into your life. And it was tough at first, it was challenging, but I did it, and I want to help you do it as well. So that's for the next video. And if you want to find me on the internet besides here on my YouTube channel, you can find me at goddessallison.com. So stay tuned for the next video when I tell you how to change your diet and what to do and what to implement that worked for me, so that you can cure this virus within a matter of a few months. Stay tuned.